begin with an idea of why this panel conversation and why is it important. It's very important to understand why we are getting in together today with so many people from the faculty, from the student community, and they also are looking forward to it. The purpose is to basically be able to address the questions that normally students have. Cybersecurity is an upcoming field, GCA being Global Cybersecurity Association. We take this as one of our very core responsibility areas to be able to bring more people in the domain of cybersecurity. And to be able to do that, I think it's very important to allow young students, whether they are in colleges or they are, out of school or college, intending to get into different career domains, at least understand the domain of cybersecurity. And the moment they think of cybersecurity today, there are many questions that come to people's mind. We have many questions, but every question being answered, the ultimate agenda or the intent is to be able to make students aware so that they're able to take informed decisions. If they know what it takes to be in cybersecurity, number one, what is this industry? Why is it so important today? And then, of course, going forward, to address a very important area as to what is in it for them. Why should they get into cybersecurity? Is it just for the sake of it being an upcoming career stream, or there's a lot more to it in terms of being able to secure their personal, their organizational, their national digital landscape, and so on and so forth. And when people understand all of these aspects of cybersecurity, then the question comes: what exactly is the role? What will I have to do in cybersecurity? If I do that, well, does it require me to be a techie? Does it require me to have, a whole lot of, qualifications or certifications, or I could be in cybersecurity without any, tech or specialized skill set as well? And then obviously going forward, how does the industry look like? And, and how do I really step into this career domain? So the overall, intent of taking all of these questions would be to, number one, make students understand what this field is all about. Why is it so important today? Why should they consider this as a career field? And if they have, what are the different roles that they can get into? And how easy or difficult would it be for them to imagine themselves in this career going forward? So now quickly, coming to our panelists, our esteemed panelists, we have Mr. Suryavanshi, who is the Managing Director for India and Leader for Cybersecurity Business for Alvarez and Marcel. Thank you, Mr. Suryavanshi, for joining us today. You're leading one of the top organizations in India in the domain of consulting, and I absolutely think you'll be able to throw good light on certain strategic questions that we have for you today. I'd also like to welcome Mr. Christopher Pogue. He's Director for Cyber CX and also adjunct professor of practice at Oklahoma State University, New York. Coming to our third panelist, Dr. Kaustubh Sunalkar. He's a board member on several boards and is also, a part of Niti Aayog as a mentor of change. Welcome, Mr. Sunalkar. Happy to have you here. And we have Rohit Chaudhary. He's a cybersecurity audit compliance expert and also principal consultant at Data Brackets, North Carolina, USA. Thank you, Rohit, for being here. We expect some good GRC-related conversations with you. And finally, we have Prapesh Bhatt, and he's a cybersecurity consultant. He's going to particularly, delve into different roles and, what kind of roles align with different aspects of, different domains within cybersecurity. He's also a security trainer from NPTEL, from prestigious IIT Madras in India. So welcome to all of you, and I'll now also like to welcome all the people who've come into the call. We already have 78 people come in. There are many more. I know this is going to be continuous. People are going to be joining in, and I would also like to tell my panelists that this panel discussion is not just being attended by individuals. It is also being run in some of the cybersecurity centers in colleges, because they wanted to have this as a classroom session. So the live panel discussion is being played on some screens in some colleges. So we have far too many people than what's seen on the screen. And now I would officially start the panel conversation, beginning beginning with Mr. Chandra Prakash Suryavanshi. Sir, is it okay if I start with the first question?
Yes, please go ahead. Thanks.
Okay. So my question for you, sir, with rising cyber threats globally, how critical is it for nations to invest in developing more cybersecurity professionals? And what's the current gap versus, in the demand and supply situation right now in India and globally? Over to you, sir.
Yeah. So thanks. I would like to bifurcate or answer this question into three parts. The first part that you asked is that the cyber threats are rising globally. I think it is becoming one of the key concern even for the board. Whenever we do this survey, we identify which are the top 5 risks. While most people say geopolitical, strategic risk, generally cybersecurity is coming at third or fourth at all the top businesses and boards. So cybersecurity, first of all, is extremely important. Cyber threats are increasing anywhere between 30 to 40% CAGR. The cost of data breach are increasing. There are various reports which time and again point to that. And since last 3 years, if I look at the frequency of increment as per the CERT, or there are other studies which suggest that it is between 300 to 5% increment in India. So cyber threats are increasing both in frequency as well as the complexity. It is because of the reason of cybercrime syndicates, wherein they are putting up a automated attack platform, which are looking for opportunities to attack. And then there are also cybercrime as a service, which means that you can pay a few dollars, maybe 1,000 to 5,000, and buy unpatched vulnerabilities or leaked credentials or ransomware as a service or DDoS as a service, etc., which makes it relatively easy to play like espionage as a service. And on top of it, then you have nation-state actors who are trying to attack the national critical infrastructure of another company, which means that in some sense, it's a kind of cyber war. So you look at it, you are targeting the end users in stealing identities and making frauds for banking, UPI, etc. On the other side, you have corporates which are looking at ransomware kind of attacks and corporate espionage, and then you are also looking at nation state. So obviously, it means that you are really attacking almost everybody. So, and as we continue to digitize this entire ecosystem, which means there's almost every critical service now will depend on the technology infrastructure. Hence, anything that is connected will need to be secure, which means security has to be a part of the DNA. We look at it, the next round of digitization will also come from democratization of 5G or connected cars or IoT, where we talk about smart manufacturing and automation. So all this is increasing attack surface, which means when they are connected, it's relatively in some point in time easy to attack. Now, take for an example, we heard about certain attacks like Colonial Pipeline in the US, wherein it led to the complete blackout of electricity in the New York City. And there are many cases of attacks on critical infrastructure, be it oil and gas or power generation or distribution firms, stock exchanges, airline, etc., which may completely wreck the backbone of economy as well as sometimes the nations. So in India, too, government has formed something called as NCPIC, which is National Critical Infrastructure Protection. They help in assisting protection of critical infrastructure, which is required for national security, be it economic, public safety, like UIDI, NSC, BSC, CDSL, NSDL, and that sort. So what does it mean? It means that now every kind of industry which is being regulated and needs cyber protection, so will need cybersecurity professionals. There are numbers are very different. Some numbers say that India is short of 8 lakh cybersecurity professionals, and there are numbers which are provided that there are anytime 40 to 45,000 jobs in cybersecurity which are unfulfilled. So the gap between the demand and supply is really huge. I will give you one statistic. When we asked in one of the survey that why it is very difficult to get a reliable security, and we gave them people 4 options. Is it like the constant increase and change in attack surface, or there are limited cybersecurity tools and hackers are ahead of us, or there are budget constraints, or there is shortage of talent? Almost 1 in 3, 34% people said it's shortage of talent. So they are not finding sufficient talent really to fill the cybersecurity roles that the organization has, and be it like for small enterprises, but it is also true for large banks, multinational companies, as well as government. Hence, we see that there is a huge gap. Government of India has also taken an initiative to train 5,000 cyber commandos over a period of 5 years, and it started with three people in with tie-up with IIT Madras. So, in a nutshell, there is a huge demand, and there are multitudes of cybersecurity roles that are open. And this industry is also recession-proof. I can say I have been in this since last 20, 25 years, that the demand has always outstripped the supply, and good people in cyber were always required. So with that, I will hand it over back to you.
Thank you so much. I absolutely appreciate the point that you made. And this is one of the very relevant points, Mr. Suryavanshi, for youngsters to understand. As you said, this career is actually future-proof. There's a whole lot of demand right now. The government is promoting talent in this field. But how do we really expect youngsters to come into this field? They need a lot of understanding. They absolutely need to understand what are the different roles. I mean, do they get into it, being less prepared, more prepared? What is the adequate level of preparedness? So all those questions must be answered, to fill this gap maybe over the coming years. Now, I would stitch your question with Mr. Pog's question that I have for him. Mr. Pog, Mr. Suryavanshi did talk about national security in ways, right? He talked about how all of this also is being taken very seriously by the government. My question to you is, you're in the US and we're in India, and globally we understand this landscape for different countries. There are countries at war, and cyber, is also a big tool to even fight wars today. So how do you think that cybersecurity roles and people in it would directly contribute to national security and public safety?
That's a great question, Rupali. And so my background, just real briefly, includes a 13-year stint in the United States Army, as well as 5 years working in the Department of Justice. And so looking at that threat landscape as it pertains to the impact on governments is far wider than you might think on the initial your initial thoughts. And so you have this sort of the easy answer, like if I work in government, if I work in the CBI or the FBI or Secret Service, I'm addressing that. But recently, cyber has been named the fifth dimension of warfare, right? Land, sea, air, space, and now cyber, which makes all of us combatants, right? And it is the only dimension of warfare where civilians are as engaged, if not more so, than our government counterparts. And so I'll give you some easy examples, right? I'm the director of digital forensics and incident response at CyberCX. I am constantly up close and personal with organizations that have suffered data breaches or cybersecurity incidents. Some of those incidents are cyber criminals, right? They're organized gangs. They're typically Eastern European, although not exclusively, but they're motivated by money. And then there's this whole other group that's nation state threat actors that are motivated by something other than money. There's geopolitical motivations, there's ideological motivations, and those are the ones that we need to be concerned really about because there's so many resources, they've got so much capability, and we will see those increasingly become part of the normal attack vector that those of us in incident response, if you work in a SOC, like you're going to see this stuff all the time. And so your ability to serve not just your customers, but the communities that you live in, whether it's the cities that you live in or the countries you live in, it's the same threat actors around the world attacking the same technologies for the same desired outcomes. Whether it's India or the United States or Australia or the United Kingdom, we're all fighting the same war against the same adversary. And so when you think about a career in cybersecurity, it's not just, I'm going to be sitting at a desk and I'm going to be writing in C# or, Python. It is far more wide reaching than that, with a far more significant impact to how organizations and governments can function, right? Because you think about the very democratic process itself is now being underpinned by technology. So being able to influence elections, disrupt elections, right? Undermining the global democracy, like that's a genuine, legitimate threat that we all that we all face. And so I think for everyone here, whether you're in cybersecurity, you want to go into it, like you're on the front lines. It's almost like you're a public servant, because when the bad guys come knocking, they don't dial the police, they dial you. And so you might liaise with the police and you might work with the CBI or the Secret Service or whatever, but you're in it. And so seeing it as an equal part, this is my job, but this is also something I get to do as a servant, right, to my nation or, my cities or whatever.
Oops, sorry, it took me a second to unmute myself. So thank you, Mr. Pope, thank you. And I'm sure this would motivate many people who are here on the call today. As you said, they're on the front line, literally. They're here to protect their countries, their nations, their organizations, their society, their families, not just themselves. And this is not just a career for the job's sake. It has a huge impact. Their work in it will mean a lot to their nations, to the world, right? And absolutely. So what we have as an interesting part of this panel conversation, a few polls that you're doing. So I'm sure a lot of people have already, or maybe listening to Mr. Suryavanshi today in terms of how the demand is out there, how this is a future-proof career, and also listening to Mr. Christopher Pogue in terms of how you guys are going to be at the front line, how you guys are actually going to be protecting your nations. I have a first poll question. Have you ever considered a career in cybersecurity before this session? I would want to kind of ask you right now, and by the end of the session, maybe I'll ask you, have you now, thought of considering this as a career for yourself? So the first question can be up as a poll, if I can request my team. Okay, so we have a new poll that's launched. Have you ever considered a career in cybersecurity? Let's see how many say yes. And we have about 30 seconds for this question. Can we display the results on the screen for everyone to see? Do we see the result on the screen? Or maybe that happens after the poll is closed. Okay. All right. So I can see, I don't know if the screen everyone can see, but the poll question, we have about out of 24 people who voted, 16 of them are considering a career in cybersecurity, and 8 of them are not sure. So they would like to kind of know more. And I think this is what really the, essence of this session is. If by the end of the session, you're able to get clarity on the careers in cybersecurity, maybe that's what we would like to achieve. So yeah, we are getting the kind of not sure answers kind of become lesser than the more confident answers. So we have 19 votes for yes and 8 votes for not sure. And there are also 2 votes for people who are not considering. Maybe by the end of this session, you would like to consider this as a career in cybersecurity. So thank you so much. I think we can end this poll, and we can move to the move to the other section of our panel discussion, which is now about exploring career paths and roles. So I will request Krapesh, if he could come in and actually help students understand, about this career domain. So Krapesh, my question to you, many students and professionals are confused about cybersecurity roles. Can you briefly explain the main types of roles available and how they differ? Over to you, Krapesh.
Yeah, thank you, Rupali, and thank you, GCA team. This is most common questions that I come across talking to students or talking the new entrants in this field of cybersecurity, because they don't have much clarity about what roles they are and where do they fit in. So the good thing is that you need not to be, you can say, a coding hero, or you should be knowing everything under the sun, as actually it is being perceived in the movies. If I would like to break this down, and I can actually, in the end, I will show you a good visual graphic that actually explain how the cybersecurity roles are spread out. To start with, we can have a prevention role that we can actually think about. So cybersecurity can have technical experts as well, non-technical experts as well. So you might have a job role or a career path that is oriented more towards technical side as well as more towards non-technical side as well. So if I say like technical experts, who are those technical experts? So think of the technical experts as penetration testers, security architects, application security engineers, secure coders. I would say the people who are into cloud security, people who are into the infrastructure security. That actually is forming the core of, you can say, that technical expertise of the domain of cybersecurity. Now, if we talk about the non-technical specialists or non-technical part of the cybersecurity, it actually focuses on raising security awareness, educating others about security, educating the masses. That is one role that one can go in. One is the compliance part here. So where you more focus on, you can say, the human and policy-driven aspects of the cybersecurity, where you focus on governing how the things should be going on within an organization, right? Next role, if I would like to emphasize on, is the response and recovery roles. Now, this is actually getting more and more prominent these days with the advent of security operations centers and network operations centers, wherein we imagine a scenario where we have a breach, or we have a hack, or we have a case of attack. So these are the professionals that step in as first responders, and they assess, mitigate the damage, or try to contain the damage which is being done or which has already been done. Try to see what did go wrong, from where did this go wrong, what are the threat actors. They might try to track down the path of the attack and try to contain that incident. So that is a response and recovery role. So some, you can say, if I would like to get more insight into this, I can say like incident-centric specialists, like incident responders, forensic examiners, malware analysts, threat hunters, which try to actually see how the breaches have been done. So they try to get to the root cause analysis, do that part as well. One more area is the resilience experts, wherein we have specialists that talk in the domain of disaster recovery, business continuity planning. Okay, so they also work alongside the technical team to get the things, you can say, streamlined, and how they want the system to function. So all the technical and non-technical aspects fall and make sure the business stays online, runs online as it is expected. We also have a role which is more, you can say, like oriented when you get more mature, you understand the processes, low-level processes more, you have good exposure of the systems, then you go into management and oversight roles. So this basically focus on governance, they focus on compliance, they focus on understanding what are the business risks, operational risks, and all this analysis is done, and you decide a strategy on how you actually want your organization to function. So you decide the tactical aspects, you decide the aspects on how are you going to lead the organization. So CISOs come into play here. We have auditors, which are, you can say, like ISO 27001, or you try to put into the part of, you can say, PIMS, Privacy Information Management System. All these frameworks are there. So experts basically work in this domain, and they try to, you can say, streamline the process. So that is basically calling the GRC analysts. So they define the policies. We also have legal and business role as well, wherein we have specialized law, you can say, people who know the law. There is a cyber law. So respective jurisdiction, this is based on that. So every country or the region will have their own cybersecurity law and its framework. So we have lawyers who specialize in this domain. So we have also sales engineers as well, who actually go into the product demonstration of security products, if I say. So they go into that part as well, and they try to work to bridge the gap between this regulation part. So what is required and what is missing, they try to do that assessment, and they try to fulfill that. Also, specifically for students these days, basically, we have emerging roles. I would say, like, if you want to get inside cybersecurity, so this is the first thing that any, you can say, a grad student or post-grad student must actually look into, like a very beginner-friendly role, if I may say. First and foremost is the penetration tester. One would be SOC analyst, level 1, and then you proceed your way up to level 2, level 3, and so on and so forth. You have threat intel guys who specialize into the TTPs of the attackers and try to map out that thing. Also, we have more emerging areas. Now, these areas are actually still developing, but still I would like to mention them here. One is the AI security. We are still seeing the LLM-based attacks, and people are talking about that. With you can say DeepSeek coming in, some people are actually reporting that DeepSeek is sometimes exposing its code internals. So something like that. Some people actually try to exploit the chatbot agents, AI chat agents, and they try to play with that. So we have those experts as well who know artificial intelligence properly, and they try to implement the security aspects as well. We do have IoT security engineers. We have quantum cryptography that is actually now getting more and more interesting, and professionals are actually working on next gen security challenges. Now, if I say like what skill set you might be requiring, I would say there is a core skill set that every student must be working upon, be it from, you can say, from any, you can say, lateral you might come. First is the analytical thinking. You should be having a problem solving ability. You must be adaptable, and you should be ready to learn continuously. You must be having critical thinking, good communication and collaboration skills. These are the prerequisites. Other things basically based on your lateral, it may change. And also one more confusion that I am actually seeing is that one organization is calling the role of a cybersecurity project engineer. One is, you can say, like analyst, one is consultant. So they are not to be confused. Focus more on what the skills that they are requiring. Every company would have their own terminology, but try to understand the job description and you will come to know what actually role is there. So multiple roles are there. And also I would like to put a case study here, because one of the organizations, that is Mile2, which is actually providing this role-based training, and which has been structured around this. And let me share the screen and just show you this technical and non-technical roles that are there. Just a moment, let me just pull that for you. And yeah, just about that. So this one is actually, you can say, like a very ready reference for you. 1 second. And here we are. I think you are able to see the screen. Just confirm me so that you can proceed. Right. So is it visible, the screen?
Yeah, you may have to zoom in a bit, but yeah, maybe we can read out, right? So
Okay.
yeah, zoom in, and I think we can go one step at a time. You know, maybe start with govern and zoom in the govern, and then move to the other parts.
Okay, so now it is actually you can say readable properly. Yeah. So this chart is actually as per the NIST cybersecurity framework version 2.0. See, govern is basically, like, you can say, a full where you can say you are driving everything. Now you can see whatever the roles that govern, you can say, subdomain is giving you regarding to GRC, privacy officer, compliance assistant. This is all actually, I would say, this is all non-technical, right? So yeah, it is having a non-tech, but still you should be having a solid understanding of how business processes are going, what is the law of the land, and how actually to map this out with your current business process. And we have an identify subdomain where we talk about hybrid. So it could be technical, non-technical. You might have an asset management role. You might have a risk analysis role. You might have a threat intel lead or threat intel role, depending on what is your task at hand. We have a role which is focused on protection. So to protect, basically. So you might be having multiple roles here. These are the 3 examples. One is the CISO, which is actually hybrid, so tech and non-tech. You might have a security architect that designs the system from ground up with security in the mind. Now, this architect could be for web application, network, or infrastructure, depending on, you can say, which domain it is being applied to. You might have identity and access management analyst. So this can fall into, you can say, huge organizations where you might have a cloud computing environment. You might have an environment which is having its own infrastructure, which is managed across the, you can say, subcontinent. So multiple identity and access management roles are there. So that is purely technical. Now, if I just go down back here, so we have a detection role, which is purely technical. So SOC analyst, tier 1 to 3, depending on the experience level and the job roles. You might be working under the threat hunting role, red team. So this is a full-blown, you can say pen test, you can say without any bounds, totally unleashed. You are having full freedom on what you can be able to, you can do. So you can start with social engineering, phishing, or whatever. You are given full freedom for red team. So this is actually a very intensive exercise. We have a response role where you have a junior incident responder, consultant, or the analyst here. You might have a forensics analyst, which is also purely technical. Incident response manager, which is also hybrid, because you should be knowing the business processes and the SOPs on how to respond to these things. So yeah, this is a hybrid one. If we talk about the recover part here, we have a non-tech one, which is the BCM or the BCP, business continuity. So that is also one thing. So this also falls under the GRC as well, if you implement the ISO standards with context of BCP. We have a disaster recovery analyst, which is also hybrid. We have a resilience engineer. So basically focuses more on the hardening of the system to make the systems more resilient to attack. And this also works nicely with the threat intel. So this actually, the things are like, if you gain skill in one domain, that skill is transferable to other domains. So anything you gain right now is certainly going to help you, no matter on which domain you try to go. It is totally open for everyone. So I think I explained this, and if anyone has a doubt, you can actually raise your questions. I'll be happy to answer. So from my part,
at the end, Kripesh, yeah, if that's all right, we have questions at the end. And at this point in time, thank you so much. It was a wonderful explanation. And I'm going to just end it with a quick poll once again. I'm sure people have kind of understood what the different roles are. Can I request my team to run the second poll question? What areas of cybersecurity are you interested in exploring? Because we're now covering the technical aspects and the GRC aspects. So, you know, it would be, this is question 2. I would want to also make the question 3 live, which is what are the cybersecurity area you're most interested in exploring. I request the team to run the poll on question 3 as well. Yes, thank you so much. And after this, we'll have, you know, we'll have Rohit talk on GRC, and we'll also come, you know, maybe get Mr. Christopher Pogue on more technical side of cybersecurity roles. Kripesh, you have, you know, already covered, you know, in some way the details on the tech and non-tech. So we'll take 2 questions in this section, one from Rohit on the GRC side, the non-tech side, and the other from Mr. Christopher Pogue on the tech side. So let's see if we have the poll results. Okay, quickly. I think we all, okay, how can I see it? Polls. All right, so we have, interesting. Now, this is an interesting answer, Mr. Christopher Pogue. This is question number 2. What motivates you most about cybersecurity? To your point, making a positive impact, protecting people. That got highest number of votes. Then the next was solving complex problems. Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, the next option was earning potential and the job stability, of course, absolutely respected. Working with cutting edge technology got 1 vote. Global career opportunities got 6 votes. And people would like to get into cybersecurity because they want to work, they want to have access to global career opportunities. And yeah, so the winner is making a positive impact and protecting people and the nation. So great. Thank you so much, Mr. Pogue, for making that point. Let's go to question number 3. What areas of cybersecurity are you most interested in? Okay, 19 votes on penetration testing and ethical hacking. So this is what we were talking the other day, you know, to all our panelists, that this is what students mostly now understand. But the good news is we also have 5 votes on GRC. We have 2 votes on SOC operations. We have 4 votes on security engineering and architecture. And we have 4 votes on people who are still not sure and exploring. So, you know, the intent of the panel conversation, that people get, you know, aware of such domains in cybersecurity. They start to understand that it's far beyond just ethical hacking or pen testing, right? So we've already started to, you know, see some awareness. So so great. Thank you so much for participating in the poll, all of you. Now we'll go back to you know, our panel conversation. Coming to Rohit. Rohit, Could you elaborate on GRC roles and how they contrast with operational or technical roles like the SOC analyst or the pen tester? And also, what industries tend to have the most demand for GRC professionals? All right. And yeah, how it might influence where a graduate should apply. Over to you.
Yeah, thanks for the question, Rupali. So I don't know if I can add more to what Kripesh already said. He really portrayed the various roles well. But if I may add, GRC is more on the side of strategy and policy. So we basically, work with the CISOs and CTOs to make sure that the organization is safe and secure, focusing on the individual elements of G, R, and C, which stand for governance. R is risk management, and C is regulatory compliances. So the idea is to basically make sure that the organization operates responsibly and is safe and secure. So the kind of roles that we have in GRC, revolve around risk assessment. That for us is step number one, because it basically brings out the gaps that an organization may have, and then based on those gaps, other things come into play. Policy development is a big one here. So I would say people who are fond of documentation or good at writing these policies, reading these policies, and then of course making sure that these policies are deployed. Vendor risk assessment, regulatory compliances like HIPAA, ISO, and lately CMMC, which is specific to Department of Defense, and conducting internal audits and making reports. So that's the kind of roles you can expect in the GRC segment. Contrast that to a SOC analyst or a pen tester. These are more hands-on, as Kripesh rightly said. A SOC analyst would typically be monitoring the systems in real time. You have a log management system like a SIM, looking for anomalies, responding to threats, so on and so forth. And pen tester, as everybody I'm sure in this group would know, that they are the guys who are trying to look at the potential vulnerabilities that a system has, like a network or an application, and then exploit those vulnerabilities and basically show how an intruder can possibly get inside the system. So I think that would be the contrast in the two roles, GRC versus pen test or a SOC 2. Part two of your question is, what industries tend to have the demand for GRC professionals. So here, what I would like to say is, of course, with all the attacks that are going on, honestly, GRC is everywhere, because it's not that only the industries that are regulated are under, cybersecurity pressure. But having said that, here, if I may say specifically for US, the first industry that stands out is, of course, healthcare. Almost a decade ago, HIPAA came into picture, making sure that the patient's, data privacy is taken care of. So you have healthcare as a potential employer, of course. Finance and fintech is also regulated thanks to the payment card industry. So PCI applies here, and then you have government and defense. We work very closely with the Department of Defense and other government departments. So frameworks like, or I should say, regulations like CMMC and FedRAMP are big ones here. So there is tons of GRC need here. A lot of people are looking for help around CMMC deployment and FedRAMP, because these are really very large frameworks based on NIST 800-171. So depending upon the level of certification you're going for, the number of controls could be anywhere from 250 to even 300 plus. So that's another area that people can look into. And then of course OT has become a very big thing. I was recently in Europe attending a conference, and everybody's talking of energy and critical infrastructure. So yes, that's another area. So I think there are roles everywhere, and students really have to find out what their interests are, and healthcare, finance, tech, they're all great places to start looking for roles. Thank you.
I have a question in continuation to this, Rohit. Would you also want to comment that people in GRC, because they're looking at compliances, they also need to have pretty much some understanding of report writing, being able to explain to their clients or their organizations, the importance of the findings, the importance of the regulations, and their ability to interpret those reports and actually make their business secure. So, typically in cybersecurity, students don't understand that, other than the technical nuances of the jobs, there may be certain jobs like GRC where writing a report and, making literally a business case for you to act differently is also a part of cybersecurity. So a little bit on that.
Yeah, you're quite spot on. This role is documentation heavy. So I think that's something that students really need to bear in mind. When you talk of auditing or being a compliance analyst, you're going to be working with the, control frameworks, NIST, ISO 27001, and like I said, 800-171, 853. So these are very, very huge frameworks, and you have to really go deep into every single control, find out what exactly it is looking for, and then accordingly come out with the compliance strategy. So all that has to be documented ultimately when you go for audits, because the one of the aims is to get the certification. So when you put everything in front of the auditor, so you have to be very crisp in your documentation. You have to bring the points very well. Otherwise, there's always a danger of you getting dinged during an audit, and you might have to, like in the case of ISO, we call it non-compliances. If you get those non-compliances, then the whole process gets delayed. So yes, you're absolutely right. Report writing, documentation, all these things are very important. So people really have to be very process oriented and strategic in their approach.
Thank you so much, Rohit. And that was quite informative on the GRC side. Now, before I move to Dr. Suryavanshi for some understanding from the consulting firm's point of view, I'd go to Mr. Christopher Pogue and want him to shed some light on the technical aspects, and particularly, if possible, some emerging cybersecurity roles that you may have seen at CyberNext, in your role there, or maybe in your client organizations globally, who have come up with certain creative roles, in addition to what Kripesh and Rohit talked about. To you, sir.
Yeah. So first of all, I just wanted to point out that the survey did not have digital forensics and incident response as an option, which I'm certain would have been the most selected of all of them. So for everyone that wants to do that, I started out as a pen tester, and so I moved into investigations. And what's this will dovetail into sort of the larger response, Rupali, but taking what Rohit said about documentation and the interest that the attendees have in technology and pen testing, like that is amalgamated into the digital forensics incident response role. It is also heavily documentation related, because you got to take notes, because everything you do is going to be scrutinized at some point. I'm an expert witness in the US, so I have to give courtroom testimony, write depositions, work on prosecutorial cases. Your work may end up in court, which means it has to be very specific and documented thoroughly, or else an opposing expert is going to rip it to shreds. So that's one component of that. In addition, the communications piece, everyone we write reports for are not technical people like us. They are judges and juries and attorneys and CISOs and boards of directors who know 2/3 of nothing about technology. So your ability to take really complex technical terms and explain them in an easy to understand way is worth its weight in gold. I teach this at Oklahoma State. I make sure all of my MSIS students, many of which are on this call today, like I hammer this into their heads. You can be at the top of your class from a technical perspective, but if you can't communicate, you are going to struggle to find a job and keep a job and be happy in the job. And so that's that component as it pertains to any job, whether it's, you know, a GRC component, or you work in pen test, or you work in DFIR, or you work in a SOC, or, you know, any one of the myriad of roles. And there are literally thousands, right? And we just had this conversation in class yesterday. The thing that is going to set you apart in those interviews is not your piece of paper that said you graduated from this university with this degree or that degree. Like, as a hiring manager, I already know that by the time you get to the interview. I've read your academic accolades. I don't want to talk about that. I want to know what you're bringing to my team, right? We call this, you know, the Chihuahua on the pork chop, right? If you think about a little Chihuahua eating a pork chop, you know, just digging his teeth in and ripping it apart, that's what I'm looking for. I want the first person that shows up. I want you to be the last person that leaves. I want this relentless pursuit of knowledge and information and just really digging in. And if you apply that across every one of these domains, that's what hiring managers are looking for. Like, we know you all have degrees and we know that you're all super smart with technology. Like, that's a given. That's in the US, right? In Vegas, we call that table stakes. That's not what's going to separate you. You have got to have these other non-technical things, or you're just going to get passed by. And so those jobs are at CyberCX, are consulting firms like Alvarez and Marshall, like everyone that I have ever spoken to in my capacity as a professor or in my capacity as a director at CyberCX, when I'm dealing with clients, when I'm dealing with victim organizations in the government, that is a globally shared, globally important perspective that we all have. And this, you know, the global talent war that we're seeing, because students from India are competing with students from Oklahoma, who are competing with students from Australia, right? All over the world for jobs. So this constant question is, how do I get moved to the front of the queue? How do I have my resume looked at harder than someone else's? And then if I get the interview, how do I get in there and really hit a home run? And that's it. It is these non-technical pieces, right? And hopefully, as you look at those jobs, and there's heaps that you think about, okay, you know, do I meet the technical requirements? Okay, tick. What are all the other requirements that I'm going to need, right? And most professionals reach out to us on LinkedIn, ask questions. Like, most of us are really happy to spend 15 minutes with you. You know, if you come preloaded, I've got these 3 questions. Like, I'll sit on the phone all day with folks like that. And so I would say, don't be afraid. Look at those jobs. There's literally mountains of them. And just remember, it will not be your degree that gets you that job. It'll be everything else that you bring to that interview process.
Thank you so much. I mean, that was absolutely, you know, it did, you know, absolutely make it clear that you're a professor, and you know, you couldn't have said it well. You know, your work can actually, you know, be in the courts for all you know. Your work is so important. You know, it's not just the technical aspect of your cybersecurity training. What do you bring in addition to that? And thank you so much for offering, you know, that you know, you're available to guide students even, you know, outside of the panel conversation. That's really encouraging. And yeah, to your point that, you know, you're competing with just about everyone. You know, a professional in India is competing with global professionals, whether they're from Australia or UK or wherever they may be from. You have to differentiate yourself, and technical skills as of today are no longer the, you know, the differentiating, you know, aspects. I mean, you have to find something which is non-tech, problem solving, report writing, writing a report in a way that is understood by non-tech people. Very important. it's so important. I mean, we may be kind of talking about acronyms, about terminologies, about the frameworks, but unless a business understands, unless a board understands, unless people are able to make sense of it, it's of no use. Right. So I think an awesome point. Thank you so much, Mr. Christopher Pogue. Over to Dr. Chandraprakash Suryavanshi. Sir, from a consulting firm's lens, how do you view cybersecurity roles differently compared to in-house roles? Are there unique expectations or skill sets that professionals need when working across multiple clients and industries?
Yeah, very relevant. So let me start where, the discussion kind of is tilting towards. I think there are 2 or 3 broad pointers which are coming in. One is that technical skills only a half part of it, and large part of it is also interpersonal communication skills, your analytical skills, because technically you may understand, of course, you need to have a strong fundamentals of technology, be it an operating system, network, or application, databases, so on and so forth. And if you are in certain manufacturing, power generation kind of industry, then OT technology understanding is extremely important. That will make a strong base for you to really put security as a part of the DNA, not just bolt on. But important part is the other skills that differentiates, and one is to really identify what are the sweet spots and strong points, then really pursue whether consulting is for you or not. Because I have seen most often people are coming into the consulting, but over a period of 4, 5, 6 years, they either hit a glass ceiling or they really are looking at, transitioning to the industry. So let me give an example, to prove a point. Say, for example, if I look at it, the security organization structure of a large bank, you will typically find 6 or 7 verticals. You will find a vertical of GRC and a GRC head, somebody who is dealing with drafting security policies, security processes, ensuring regulatory compliances, doing annual risk assessment, doing awareness, and sometimes automating all this using GRC tools like Archer, ServiceNow, etc. Then you have second vertical of application security. So they do calendar-based annual application security testing and change management. Then you have security monitoring, who monitor 24/7 in security operations center, looking for security incidents, doing proactive threat hunting and use case engineering, etc. Then you have incident response team, which is responding to incidents that as and when come in. They sometimes engage in forensics activity too. Your security architecture team, who is ensuring that whenever a new product, services, technology is implemented, security is a part of that. And then you have data protection, which deals with largely data security, sometimes even privacy. Now, if I look at it, this 6, 7 verticals, and I map it to say my own industry in a consulting, how are we structured? We are structured more or less same. We are something like cyber risk advisory services, which deals with creating cybersecurity strategy, doing maturity assessment, doing risk and compliance assessments, and providing assurance by control testing. Then we have data protection and privacy. Then we have technology risk, which deals with pen testing, application security, red teaming, threat and compromise assessment kind of services. And then we have incident response and forensics. So if you look at it technically, is there a large difference between, say, consulting and how, say, large banks have the roles? You may not find a lot. But the skills in terms of interpersonal and broader knowledge varies. Say, for example, 70% of the people, you will find that they start, in some of the other domain, then they start to become generalist in that or little bit specialized in that domain. Now, if they really want to grow into their career, they have to be really, really very, very strong. So I have seen a lot of people say, for example, they take up security monitoring. When they start with an L1 monitoring, which means that they are looking at incidents 24/7, eyes on the screen, they are executing a playbook. But how good they are in understanding why kind of incidents are coming, what is the level of logging that is enabled, and go into more technical details and try to understand the root cause. Then slowly they will be able to graduate way more into understanding how a use case is created, and then how really incidents can be brought down, how to make it more enable and efficient. This is what a consulting mindset is sometimes, which I believe that, lacks in the industry, because they become sort of coming into their own comfort zone and start to execute same. Similarly, pen testing, a lot of people start with that, but eventually they end up running some sort of application and penetration testing tools like Nessus and application security tools like Burp Suite, just do OWASP top 10 assessments by, playbook, or they become conversant with that, but they do not go beyond. But as the structure changes, the type of application where AI application is coming, APIs are coming up, then whether they are able to cope up. And that's what differentiates the industry and the consulting. So if I have to sum it up, industry roles, I have seen that they are inch deep, they are more focused sometimes toward the type of industry. They are also tied to systems and tools. But consulting is a lot wherein you need a lot of business context because you are doing consulting for a variety of type of industry. The impact, the threats that same threat might have with a banking will be very different from, say, when you will contextualize it for a manufacturing industry. Similarly, communication skills and interpersonal skills are extremely important in consulting. Of course, there is critical everywhere, but in consulting more so. Report writing, presentation, client management, coming really out of comfort zone, ability to do multitasking, etc. Last point that I want to make specifically on the consulting side is that we are now looking at super specialization because clients are also saying, I want a consultant who has done day in, day out, same thing. So if somebody is looking for an OT guy, he wants to see, whether you have worked at least on 10 large, say, power sector clients before you come to me. So what is the credential? So we typically call it as a content-based leadership and super specialization, which means you understand that domain, the kind of problems so well that you would have faced multiple times. So that's where you do super specialization, where you are aware about business context, risk and threat profiles. You understand, the entire technology stack and the business that the firm is into, and then provide security recommendations and do consulting. So consulting, if you want to really grow, has to be multitasking, lot focus on interpersonal and problem solving skills. You have to come out of your comfort zone and work on multiple clients. But then slowly you also have to see, you are a master of at least one or two and fungible across, so that you are always busy, because consulting works on chargeability. You cannot just expect, unless you are a very large firm, that I will only do this kind of work. But as time progresses, obviously, and your firm is very large, like there are people who only do incident response, will end up doing only incident response right from day one. But largely you will find people who are a little bit fungible, who are doing multiple kind of things. And that's what make them also strong in fundamentals and kind of, done multiple things, specifically when you're junior. But as you become senior, you have to be super specialized. So you need to pick up one thing that you are really, really good at, and then keep on expanding. That is what will differentiate you in the consulting, and then you will be able to earn the name for yourself. So sorry, I know that was a long answer, but hope that answers, Rupali. I give it back to you.
Well, thank you so much. I absolutely don't think there was long from an understanding that it was a different thing to know. Consulting is a completely different domain. A lot of people want to get into consulting because they particularly feel that, when they're a consultant, they actually would be having more exposure into different kinds of business setups, different industries, and be able to solve, different problems. Therefore, maybe their skill set has, ability to evolve better, faster, rather than actually working in one organization and protecting that organization's, cyber or their digital landscape. Now, that said, they probably would have gotten, some clarity in terms of how do you look at super specialization, because your clients are now demanding, the talent which is more maybe skilled in today's time to address threats which are evolving pretty much every day. So absolutely, that insight was useful for people who wanted to get into cybersecurity from a consulting side of jobs. Going now to the next section. While we have the first question for you, Mr. Suryavanshi, I would flip it because otherwise back to back, it would be your talk time. So I will move to Rohit and come back to you in a bit after taking Dr. Kaustubh Sonalkar as well. Rohit, we actually have discussed GRC, we've also discussed technical, but what the point that I wanted to bring forward also, that this is not something that you get to know once. You don't in cybersecurity get a training, on a tool or on a certain kind of a threat. Technically, you have to keep evolving your skill set. Your learning has to be continuous because, threat is evolving, different kind of tools are coming up. But this is not just happening with technical aspects. The same is happening also with with the GRC domain, right? Let's say there's a law graduate who's wanting to be in cybersecurity, right? Which has an important role to play in cybersecurity. A change of regulation can change a lot of things for that role, right? So can you comment on that and give an example of a recent cybersecurity event or a regulation that significantly impacted your work at Data Brackets?
Sure. So if I understand the question correctly, I think we're talking about what sort of role law and policy grads might have in cybersecurity. And like again, Kripesh had mentioned in his remark earlier that there are roles for law and policy grads in cybersecurity, and especially in GRC space, because I think everybody in the group is saying cyber isn't just about firewalls or encryption anymore. It's also about interpreting all these various regulations that surround us, the contractual obligations, and understanding what sort of legal impact we have in the event of a breach. So for example, laws like GDPR, HIPAA, CCPA, and in Europe we have NIS2 directive. They all require a blend of legal knowledge and cybersecurity. So organizations need professionals who can translate these legal requirements into some clear actions, for them. So one of the things that I can think of that impacted our work was the Securities and Exchange Commission, came out with a rule around cybersecurity disclosure in 23-24. So they require companies in the US to report cyber incidents within 4 days. So that's a huge shift. It's not just about technical issue anymore. It's legal and governance, and ditto for HIPAA. So as soon as there is a breach, you're supposed to be reporting that. So things like these require a thorough understanding of legal implications. So IT teams work with the legal guys, how to handle disclosures, and of course, have to also report to the board. So I think law grads aren't just welcome in cybersecurity, and I would say they are actually essential when it comes to certain regulations.
Thank you, Rohit. Thank you for bringing in law graduates and giving them an understanding as to how their role could also be very important within cybersecurity. And why just law professionals? I'm sure there are other fields as well, like HR for training, and operations, manufacturing side of things are looked at by the operation. Even the boards are responsible, right? So going now to Dr. Kaustav Sanalkar. Now, sir, while we talk about the legal, the HR, and other areas within cybersecurity, how do you think management professionals, whether they are finance people, HR people, or people from risk assessment, and even the board executives, why do you think they should care about cybersecurity other than just the IT guys? Over to you.
So thank you, Rupali, for this question. See, a few years back, I would say about a decade, it was not a topic which was, openly discussed in a board meeting. Today, when you look at most of the boards, cyber is one of the most important topic which is discussed. So as part of, when you look at GS, there people are talking about ESG, now they add a C to it, which is cyber, and that's a part of the story. It is always discussed. Earlier on, cyber spent on cyber was seen as a cost. Today they see it as a value. So it is a complete shift from how boards actually look at. No, when you look at board, cyber governance as a competency has become a part of the norm. So HR people now look at even what is that one skill matrix. In that skill matrix, what is important? Cyber governance is one competency which they always look at. It has become a part of an IT, while it earlier on it was a part of the IT team, while this is an extended part of it. It is today a part of the entire organization. Earlier on, when I started doing boards, it was hardly about a 1 or 2% discussion. Today, I am happy to say that we have gone to about 23% of boards globally are today looking at cybersecurity as part of a board discussion, and they are kind of utilizing consulting organizations like Dr. Suryavanshi and KPMG's and EY's to actually consult on cyber crimes. It is basically cybersecurity no longer now is actually an exciting career. If I were to look at what are the top 10 careers which globally people and students are looking at, cybersecurity is one of them, because it's about 3.5 million jobs across the world. Average salary at the highest level being $140,000. So it's actually there. Apart from boards, I would like to talk about family offices across Middle East, India, and elsewhere. Family offices have seen a lot of money go away just because of because they look at it from a money and value perspective. About 8 to 10 trillion dollars vanished in the last decade only in cyber crimes, and that's when the whole influx of cyber experts, cyber consultants, governance experts, ESG consultants combined with cyber experts, they came in, and those roles started taking importance. And these people, these are not easy. These are roles which I think are much more important today than they ever were. So youngsters get a feeling of acting like that MI6, doing that, doing a cyber investigation. But I guess the competencies which we were talking about from an HR perspective, which is generally, I think Dr. Suryavanshi and Chris did speak about them, about the softer competencies. I think it's the softer competencies combined with those techno-commercial competencies, combined with the eye for detail, combined with somebody who actually comes up with that inquisitiveness, that anxiousness, somebody who is excited about doing things. It is about living a real life MI6 experience. And I think students at this level would want to get into something which is far more contributing. And today, there are instances where cyber crimes have been halted, and around, the data actually which I have, maybe it's dated, it's about $35 billion worth cyber crimes halted just because of the cyber officers or the cyber governance rules which came in. So boards today, long story short, boards today, family offices today are looking at cyber extremely seriously. Now they are looking at these professionals as an integral part of the organization, integral part of the board. Like Alvarez Marshall, they actually advise boards. So they are looked at as real auditors, real-time experts to be part of the board advisory, which will basically make sure the safeguard the larger organization. So family office and boards, absolutely. And going forward, you would see this number going up from 23 to about 50%. And Indian government is taking cognizance of this. Skills are getting developed. There is a skill matrix which is being developed for cyber, and there is huge amount of opportunity which will come in. It is the top 10 jobs. So I guess for all the students who are here, they are looking at something which is going to be huge in the next decade or so. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sonalkar. I think that sheds a very important kind of light on the cybersecurity careers. People who look at it as technical IT roles, sometimes maybe not tech, but they don't imagine that this could actually be so important for a business, so important for the board, so important for business continuity. And for 23% of the boards that you now say, of course, increasing every year. This is becoming becoming so important that an IT guy or a cyber guy has a seat on the board, right? So for them to understand this critical aspect of cybersecurity, that's not just one of those ITES careers that they're getting into. They're literally helping businesses, existing. Forget about being profitable. I mean, a lot of businesses actually lose their entire market cap because of an attack or a compromise on their privacy. A lot of them I know are even fearful of reporting them, because they think that it'll immediately lead to some kind of a loss of trust from the community, from the shareholders, and what have you. So it's kind of essential to look at it from now a business continuity point of view. So thank you so much, Mr. Sanalkar. Your position in the board in different companies absolutely was an important experience that you could share, and this light was very important on the careers in cybersecurity. I think in this section, when we're talking about the non-tech profiles and the board, I think your question that was sequenced for later, Mr. Suryavanshi. Now I'd like to come to that. Do you think that I mean, we have discussed in multiple conversations before this. Yes, there can be transition from non-IT background, but could you please elaborate in terms of can and should the people from management background, law background, finance background, consider cybersecurity as a career, and therefore getting into cybersecurity or understanding cybersecurity domain from completely non-tech domain should also be discussed more frequently?
Yeah, you rightly said. I think we have discussed that yes, non-tech people does fit in, and there are roles which non-tech people can definitely add value. So let me give some context to it. For example, cybersecurity is very broad, and one of the areas is control assurance. When SOX came in, everybody was talking about IT general controls, which means that you know the business process, but then what is the surety when everything is automated, that you are recognizing the revenue and the cost and supply chain and so on and so forth, having trust in the systems, whether they are appropriate. So who were doing this? Most of the time, it was the chartered accountants and actually commerce professionals who understand the business process very well. They were actually doing segregation of duties as well as IT general controls, because segregation of duties required depth of business understanding. You need to understand that which are the two roles, which are the Chinese walls, which are the maker and checkers that cannot be done. So who can raise a PO, who can approve it beyond a point, and who is supposed to take delivery. And then in financial roles, this is more important, that who is approving the limit for credit card, who is approving the card, whether the KYC is being done appropriately. So for every role, there are segregation of duty concerns. So this entire control assurance domain was actually being done by chartered accountants and commerce and business professionals who understand the business process and then the security around it. Similarly, I can give another example in control assurance is larger assurance piece, like attestation. So we do SOC 2 compliances, where also we look at largely the controls around systems and applications, which are being done by non-technical professionals. So in fact, control assurance in all the big fours, if you look at it, they form 20% of the business. And it's an important part because everybody has to do compliance when they are listed, all SEC restricted clients, etc. The second, you spoke about cyber legal professionals. I think there is a huge demand for them too, because now a lot of regulations are coming up. So we know that privacy regulation is on the corner. We have IT Act, we have PCI DSS, and there are certain other data protection and privacy regulations required. And for multinational companies, what happens is that whatever regulatory requirement they have in their own countries, when they outsource, they convert those regulatory requirements into contracts and enforce them, which means that you need more and more legal professionals to understand and interpret the regulatory requirement, ensure that they are appropriately in the contract. You are covered with respect to liabilities. You are obtaining appropriate cyber insurance. And then if incidents happen, you are also managing the response to the regulators and contractual regulations very well. So there is a huge demand for cyber legal professionals also. Even for other backgrounds, which we discussed, management professionals or commerce background people, they can definitely play a larger role in GRC, wherein they will be able to draft cybersecurity policies, process, conduct annual risk assessment, do awareness, do sustainability. And then lastly, I would say that people who are actually driven by passion, we were giving examples that some of the hackers are 12+2, or they're not even a graduate, but then they are quite popular. Yes, there are those cases. Sometimes industry has them. There are quite a few examples who have become entrepreneurs too, who are not even graduates, but in the college days itself, they have become ethical hackers. They are fantastic at running pen tests and application security. break-ins and they understand the fundamentals and create their own tools, etc. However, I am not recommending per se from the professional point of view. Sometimes it's good to at least have a graduation, because that will help you at many places when you go travel globally to have visa and other formalities where a graduation is required. So in a nutshell, if I have to say, yeah, there are a variety of options, be it legal professionals, management professionals, commerce professionals, or chartered accountants, and they are all growing very, very well. So control assurance, I can give an example. Even in my past life, when I was a partner in KPMG, control assurance was more than 200 crore rupees business. So it's not a small business. There are multiple partners in that, and you can achieve that too. So all of this, if you are really good at it, they are fantastic professions to grow.
Thank you so much. Just to add to that, when you said who kind of has the ability to sanction what kind of financial budget or give financial approvals, we have ERPs like SAP, even in operations, mechanical engineers who are looking at machinery and equipment, who actually has access to the control systems. Even that is now connected to cyber. So it's everywhere. It's not just in management, even in operations, we see, cybersecurity, as an important critical piece that must be addressed. Coming to, thank you so much, Dr. Suryavanshi. Now coming to our last section, industry trends and future. The first question, Mr. Christopher Pogue, with AI automating many tasks, which cybersecurity roles are expected to grow versus those that may become obsolete or may be done by AI in future? Over to you.
Yeah, it's a really good. That's a really good question, and I just want to just respond to something Mr. Shirawashani said about the skill set of a consultant. Could not agree more. And if you want to get into consulting, like, you have to come up to speed very quickly on a wide range of different technologies. So it could be OT one week, and it could be the black box on a Lexus the next week. And next you could be looking at, management systems in a building, and the next week you're looking at a drone. And so you need to have enough technical acumen that you can figure things out really quickly. So there's this saying in the US, you're a jack of all trades and a master of none. Like, you need to come up to speed really fast on any type of technology that gets thrown at you. So that concept of, well, I don't know how to do this, should not be in your repertoire, right? It should be, I will figure this out, give me a few minutes, right? And so with regards to AI, just, think about the number of breaches that occur per second, right? I know it's not a poll question, Rupali, but just kind of wrap your head around this for a second. Every second globally, there's somewhere between 30 and 40 breaches. Every second, right? And those are just the ones that are being reported, not unreported, underreported, misreported, misunderstood. Root cause analysis is done improperly. Like, just what we know about is between 30 and 40 a second, right? So the ability to leverage artificial intelligence is going to become tantamount in our ability to adequately defend ourselves and our governments and our networks and stuff in the future. And where I see that evolving is programmatically, if we can do it today, well, then AI can do it faster, right? And so we're handling a percentage, and it's always going to be a percentage. It's never going to be the entirety of it, right? Because you can't use AI to take on human decision making, right? We will always have the ability to do something that the LLMs or the language learning models can't do. And that is, and I forget who said it, but they talked about transmutability. AI is really good in lanes. Like, it's really good in really specific areas, but when you ask it to jump out of that specific area, it doesn't have a really good ability right now to be fungible or transmutable with that information. And so being able to apply, that knowledge in different contexts, super important. So AI is going to get really good at doing really specific things really fast. That frees us up as independent thinkers and, using logic and using intuition and using those transmutable, skills that we have on the more complex problems, right? And so that's going to be exciting, because I don't know about you, but I don't like doing the mundane, sort of day-to-day boring stuff. I like doing the really exciting stuff. I like chasing bad guys through cyberspace that are trying to evade me. and it really does become, a hunt with the application of knowledge and skills and technologies and things like that. And so I think if your focus has been on those, sort of repeatable tasks, something that you can, code in C#, then I think those sorts of jobs will be increasingly assumed by AI. But I think the more complex, thought-based, logic-based, explanation-based, how do I take these more difficult things and then influence human beings to implement them, right? I've been a CISO before. I'm a virtual CISO for multiple organizations now. The single most difficult challenge CISOs face has nothing to do with technology. It has to do with how do I get all of these people to adopt all of the technology and not stand up shadow IT and not complain and pound their fists when I want them to be safe so that I can enable the business. AI can't do any of that, right? So we can do sort of things up to a point. Then there's always going to be this human element that is going to require us to be able to explain things, to influence people, and then if you want to get into forensics, right, to chase bad guys down. So I wouldn't be scared, and also I would embrace AI. Like I would get really good at writing prompts, right? I have found a friend of mine is a PhD at MIT in AI, and her advice to me that I will share with all of you is get good with prompts. Like learn how to leverage AI to your advantage. Don't cut and paste and put a bunch of customer data in there. No. But ask good prompts, be able to then ask good follow-up questions. And then AI becomes a tool, like any other tool in the toolbox. And remember, the bad guys have it too. So they will try to evade, write, variants of malware that avoid detection by AV or by MDRs or EDR technology. Like it's the cat and mouse game. It's just another, it's another tool in the toolbox that both the bad guys and the good guys have, and we're going to duke it out and figure out who can use it the best. But I wouldn't be fearful of it. I would embrace it, and I would just know that there's always going to be an aspect of technology that is not going to be taken over by AI, because we can't outsource responsibility and we can't outsource ownership of those decisions to AI. Right?
Thank you so much, Mr. Pogue. That was awesome. And, like always, this point has come up in many conversations that AI would ultimately end up doing tasks which are repetitive, which do not require human critical thinking, human, creativity of thought and problem solving skills would always be with us. And, it does free up our time to do more intelligent stuff, as you said, running after the bad guys, that's what you want to do. And at the same time, let's take the help of AI and use it as a tool. And we need, equally good ammunition and arms, when we're fighting with criminals. I mean, if they have AI, we should also use AI to our advantage. Absolutely. So thank you so much. And before we take the last question from Mr. Suryavanshi, 3 to 5 years in terms of cybersecurity. Rohit, because we're talking about AI, I'd like to pose this question to you. But even before that, I'll just like to request my panel members to stay for just 10 more minutes, because we have kind of, taken until 8 o'clock with the questions. We have to take, questions from the audiences, after that. So I would request to kind of extend this call until 8:10 or 8:12 maybe. So over to you, Rohit. How do you see AI and automation changing the GRC landscape over the next 5 to 10 years? You're on mute, Rohit.
Sorry about that. Yeah, so AI, is a double-edged sword. We all know that, there are good things and bad things about it. And specific to GRC, I think it definitely will boost our efficiency to manage risk and compliance. A lot of tools in the market, that are into continuous monitoring space, such as Drata and Vanta of the world, they are using them, and it automates control testing, helps with continuous monitoring and so on and so forth, even risk scoring. So I think gone will be the days, that we are sifting through documents and Excel sheets and what have you. So AI can take over a lot of that mundane stuff. Having said that, we have been discussing, usage of AI in assessment and audit. And one of the big red flag is there are inherent risks about data privacy. Every single customer raised their concern that, well, we don't want to use the AI models, because information goes out. And then there's a model bias. Let's not forget that AI is nothing but a software, and it just goes out there, searches for certain information, and comes back to you with a certain response, which may not be the ideal way of making decisions in this very important space of GRC. I personally think that beyond maybe helping with some of the testing, when it comes to core auditing and assessment, I think it will still be very human-centric.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Rohit. And I absolutely respect the point that when you're using AI for some kind of an audit or any kind of GRC work, if AI is actually processing the data does get into the software, and it may become then the content which is processed for further AI outputs in future. So yes, I mean that's a risk for sure. Now moving to the last question, Mr. Suryavanshi, you did cover the demand and supply in the first opening question that we had for you. But would you like to close with some points on how do you see this industry evolving over the next 3 to 5 years in terms of demand for services and job functions?
Sure. I will keep it short. The first part is that, if you look at consulting, how we work is that we take up a domain, say, for example, a privacy law has come, obviously. So you break it down and then you commoditize the delivery, which means that can you draft a sample security privacy policy? Can you do the risk assessment? You put, questions, and then you put in Excel sheets what the answers are going to be, and then you create bars and graphs. So we call it like idiot boxing or templatizing, so that you can scale it up, and then you train a couple of people so that they can go and do it. Of course, you will have a layer of governance who is going to review and provide deep insight whenever it is required. So you commoditize it so that you do it repeatedly, and you use quite a few tools to simplify. But there are 3 things that will evolve over a period of 3 to 5 years. What's happening is that now the information and access to information is with everyone. So nobody really needs that. You are required to understand, make sense, to use your analytical minds and take decisions and give your expert opinion. That will come from a lot of information, lot of backend data, lot of discussions among consultants and expertise. The second is that you will definitely need to have one skill which you are deep into. If it's incident response, then day in, day out, you should be doing it. If it's application security, day in, day out. So as we progress, more and more super specialization will be required, because industry is not looking at generic consulting. They are looking at super specialized people who can really come and consult on a particular topic or a subject. And third and last, again and again, we are seeing interpersonal skills with more than the tech part. The ability to draw a conclusion, communicate to non-technical people. Even when we have an incident, we say that 40% yes is important, is a technical response, but equally important is a management response, a regulatory response to the board, and then handling them under the heavy demand pressure situation is what really will give confidence to them that we are doing the right things. And then converting all of these technical things into board level business impact based, or articulation is extremely critical. So in a nutshell, super specialization will be required. You have to move away from generic to more technical skills and interpersonal skills, and manage, communication, presentation, client handling skills will be more important than ever.
Thank you so much. I think awesome session. The good news is that all the questions were already answered by the panelists themselves, and I just kind of noticed that. Thank you so much, Mr. Suryavanshi and also Krupesh for simultaneously being being observant of the chat and answering questions. So we're actually done on time. It's 8 o'clock, and it was a wonderful panel discussion. We would like to thank everyone. Just to inform you all that on 11th 11th of May, we're also doing a Hackfest for people who are interested in cybersecurity. They'll have about 4 to 5 hours of training and some kind of contest to participate in. We'll keep this going. I mean, we're gonna do this as often as it takes to keep people motivated, bring in more from management, from legal, from operations, and get them to understand cybersecurity in tech and non-tech ways, so that more and more people adopt cybersecurity as a career option, organizations find talent, and nations are secure. So thank you so much to everyone for taking time out. I would certainly be happy to reach out in future as well to invite you on such conversations in future. Have a great day, and see you guys soon.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rupali. Yeah. Good day. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.